This video is the ultimate cure for self-doubt. Because no matter what mistake you've made this week, you are about to witness 101 people who failed at the very basic task of being a functional human. These aren't just fails, these are spectacular Hall of Fame moments of pure stupidity. 1. Some people will do anything for internet fame. One guy in the UK literally cemented his head inside a microwave, all for a YouTube video. His friends couldn't get him out, forcing firefighters to spend an hour meticulously freeing his skull. Their official statement basically read, "We are not amused." 2. A man was demonstrating a shock-proof motorcycle helmet to a crowd. To prove its durability, he put it on and had his friend hit him in the head with a shovel. The helmet worked perfectly, absorbing the impact. His neck, however, did not, and he collapsed instantly. 3. A TikToker decided that Gorilla Glue, an industrial adhesive, would work just fine as a hairspray. The result was a permanent, impenetrable helmet of hair that defied all attempts to wash it out. It took a 4-hour surgery to free her scalp from a decision the entire internet still can't comprehend. 4. What's the worst possible weapon for a bank robbery? A guy in Scotland tried his luck with a cucumber he'd painted black with a marker. He managed to steal some cash before police tracked him down. You have to wonder what his backup plan was. Maybe a threatening banana? 5. Trying to break into your ex's house is a bad idea. Trying to do it through the chimney like a rejected Santa Claus is even worse. A California man did just that, got stuck, and was only discovered after the homeowner lit a fire, not realizing her chimney was already occupied. 6. A woman became convinced she could hatch the eggs she bought from the supermarket. She diligently incubated a dozen quail eggs for a month, believing they would hatch into her new pets. She was heartbroken to learn that commercial eggs are unfertilized and have a 0% chance of ever hatching. 7. Some people just refuse to believe signs are meant for them. A man in an expensive suit, utterly convinced a wet paint sign on a park bench was a lie or an old prank, confidently sat down to make a phone call. It wasn't a lie. The bench won that day. 8. When faking your own kidnapping, rule number 1 is to not get caught. A woman in Spain failed that rule spectacularly. She was caught on CCTV buying the exact pen and paper used for the ransom note, which, by the way, was also covered in her own fingerprints. 9. An administrative law judge in Washington, D.C. sued his local dry cleaner for $54 million. The heinous crime they committed? They temporarily lost his pants. He claimed this caused him mental suffering, inconvenience, and discomfort. The case was, thankfully, thrown out. 10. You have to admire the sheer audacity of this car thief. After successfully stealing a high-tech vehicle, he couldn't figure out how to operate it. So he called the police for technical support, leading them directly to his location for a very easy arrest. 11. A robber in Boston wore a mask but completely forgot about the bright, shiny name tag on his work uniform. The tag clearly displayed his first name, Dennis. After he fled, police simply looked up employees named Dennis at that company, went to his house, and made the easiest arrest of their careers. 12. A man in Seattle found a spider in his laundry room and decided the most rational response was a makeshift flamethrower using a lighter and a can of spray paint. He not only failed to kill the spider, but also managed to set his entire apartment building on fire, causing over $60,000 in damages. 13. A woman decided she wanted the whites of her eyes to be a different color, so she allowed someone to tattoo her eyeballs purple. The procedure went wrong, leaving her partially blind with purple ink leaking from her eyes and in chronic pain. A permanent solution to a problem that never existed. 14. A Nebraska state senator once filed a formal lawsuit against God. He accused the Almighty of causing widespread death, destruction, and terrorizing millions. The judge ultimately threw the case out, partly because God did not have a listed address and therefore could not be served with the lawsuit. 15. A man in Florida, attempting to go viral, decided it would be a cool stunt to jump over a speeding car. He timed his leap perfectly wrong, getting smashed by the windshield and sent cartwheeling through the air. He survived with broken bones, but the video proved that some shortcuts to fame are just short. 16. 2 geniuses in Connecticut planned to rob a store. To make sure there would be enough cash in the register to make it worthwhile, they called the store beforehand to ask how much money was on hand. The clerk got suspicious, called the police, who were waiting for them when they arrived. 17. A man in Texas tried to rob an ATM by stuffing it with explosives. He severely overestimated the amount of dynamite needed, completely vaporizing the machine and every single dollar bill inside it. He was left standing in a cloud of confetti-sized money fragments before being arrested. 18. A man in Pittsburgh successfully robbed 2 banks in one day, but he made one tiny mistake. He wrote his demand notes on the back of a personal letter from his own house. Police simply found the other half of the torn letter in his garbage, giving them his name and exact address. 19. When planning a crime, don't accidentally call the cops on yourself. 2 criminals in England were in the middle of a burglary when one of them butt-dialed the emergency number. The operator listened in for 15 minutes as they discussed their plans before officers arrived to arrest them mid-heist. 20. A politician wanted to show off his new office, posting a photo online of his shiny coffee maker. He completely forgot that reflective surfaces reflect. The entire internet was treated to a clear image of his naked reflection as he took the picture. He resigned shortly after. 21. A man tried to siphon gasoline from what he thought was an abandoned RV. He stuck the tube in the tank, got a mouthful of something foul, and quickly realized he was siphoning from the vehicle's sewage tank instead. Some lessons in life are learned the hard, disgusting way. 22. A guy in Ohio found what he thought was a large, cool-looking candle during a power outage. He lit it, only to be temporarily blinded and deafened when the candle turned out to be a stick of dynamite he'd forgotten he owned. Miraculously, he only suffered minor injuries. 23. A thief in South Carolina thought he could outsmart a high-voltage substation to steal some copper wire. He ignored countless warning signs, climbed a fence, and took a pair of bolt cutters to a live wire. The resulting flash of light was so intense it left a perfect silhouette of his body on the wall. 24. A drunk driver in Finland got his car stuck in a snowbank. He called a tow truck, but while waiting, he decided to have a few more drinks. When the tow truck driver arrived, he was so intoxicated he tried to pay the driver with a block of cheese and a live hamster. 25. In her infinite wisdom, a driver decided that the dozens of bright orange cones, flashing lights, and frantic construction workers waving at her were merely suggestions. She confidently drove her car directly into a massive patch of freshly poured concrete, instantly becoming a permanent traffic feature. 26. A man decided he could save money on expensive tire repairs by filling a flat tire with expanding construction foam. It seemed to work for about a minute. Then the foam just kept expanding, creating a lumpy, unbalanced, and completely undrivable wheel that cracked its own rim. 27. A burglar in Sarasota, Florida, broke into a house, and instead of grabbing valuables and leaving, he decided to cook himself a frozen lasagna. He then fell asleep on the couch while it was in the oven, which is where the homeowner found him the next morning. 28. In an attempt to get a cool photo, a woman climbed over a barrier at a zoo and started dancing in front of a jaguar enclosure. The jaguar, not a fan of her performance, reached through the fence and mauled her arm. She later apologized, not to the zoo, but to the jaguar. 29. A Pennsylvania man was arrested for a DUI while operating a motorized beer cooler. He was driving his cruisin' cooler down the street with a case of beer inside. The police confirmed that yes, a motorized beverage container absolutely counts as a vehicle when you're drunk. 30. A shoplifter in Colorado was caught trying to steal a crossbow by stuffing it down the front of his pants. Security cameras captured him waddling awkwardly through the store with a giant, rigid object clearly outlined under his clothes. His excuse? He was just happy to be there. 31. A homeowner decided the quickest way to remove a tree stump from his yard was to pack it with gasoline and light it. The resulting explosion didn't just remove the stump. It blew out every window in his house and sent a flaming log flying through his neighbor's roof. 32. A viral internet hoax convinced thousands of people that a new software update allowed them to charge their iPhones by microwaving them. The results were predictable: sparks, smoke, and completely fried iPhones. Yes, people actually fell for this and destroyed their own phones. 33. A Michigan woman, apparently late for something very important, decided not to wait for a rising drawbridge. She hit the gas, smashed through the safety gate, and tried to jump the gap like in an action movie. Her car didn't make it, nosediving into the opposite side of the bridge. 34. After locking his keys in his car, a man waited for a locksmith. While waiting, he managed to pry the door open with a coat hanger. Feeling proud, he went to cancel the call, only to realize he had just locked the still-running locksmith's truck with the locksmith's keys inside. 35. An Oregon man sued Michael Jordan for $832 million. His claim? That he looked too much like the basketball legend and was tired of being mistaken for him. He argued this caused him immense emotional pain and suffering. The judge, unsurprisingly, was not convinced. 36. A bank robber in Belgium, attempting to crack a safe, accidentally triggered a security system that permanently sealed the vault door. With no way out and a dwindling air supply, he had to call the police on himself and beg them to break in and rescue him, so they could arrest him. 37. A man bought a brand new, very expensive drone. For its first flight, he decided the most scenic spot would be over a volcano. He flew it directly into the plume of superheated toxic gas, which instantly melted the drone's electronics, sending it spiraling into the lava below. 38. A tourist visiting a geyser at Yellowstone National Park decided it wasn't shooting water high enough for his video. So he walked right up to the superheated vent and urinated into it. He was rewarded with a blast of boiling bacteria-filled water directly to his face. 39. A tourist at the Leaning Tower of Pisa wasn't content with the classic holding it up photo. He decided he was the one who could finally fix it. He spent nearly 10 minutes trying to physically push the 14,500-ton tower back into an upright position, getting increasingly frustrated when it wouldn't budge. 40. A man bought a high-powered laser pointer online. To test its range, he pointed it out his apartment window and aimed it at a tiny moving light in the night sky. That tiny light turned out to be a police helicopter, which then landed and arrested him for interfering with an aircraft. 41. Two workers were tasked with moving a massive pane of glass across a plaza on a particularly windy day. Ignoring the obvious physics of the situation, they lifted the glass, which immediately turned into a giant sail, catching a gust of wind and shattering into a million pieces. 42. A woman tried to deep fry a whole, completely frozen turkey for Thanksgiving. When the rock-solid, ice-cold bird hit the vat of boiling oil, the water inside it instantly turned to steam, creating a massive grease explosion that engulfed her entire back porch in flames. 43. A man was so confident in his counterfeiting skills that he tried to buy over $300 worth of electronics with a fake $1 million bill. The bill featured the face of President George W. Bush. The cashier, surprisingly, was not fooled and immediately called security. 44. An amateur survivalist read that you could drink water from a vine in the jungle. While hiking in his local woods, he found a thick vine, cut it open, and took a big gulp. It turned out to be poison ivy, causing severe chemical burns all the way down his throat. 45. To save a few bucks on a moving company, a man decided to transport his new 60-inch flat-screen TV by strapping it to the roof of his small sedan. He used a single, flimsy bungee cord. He made it less than a mile before the TV took flight and smashed on the highway. 46. An Australian man tried to impress his friends by surfing on the back of a shopping cart being pushed by a car. He hit a small pebble, was launched from the cart, and broke both of his arms, his collarbone, and several ribs. The car kept going, completely unaware. 47. A city official in India wanted to retrieve his phone after dropping it into a reservoir. He spent 3 days draining 4 million liters of water, which was meant for local irrigation, before he was caught. He did get his phone back, but it was too waterlogged to work. 48. A woman in China was so engrossed in her smartphone that she walked directly into a canal. She didn't look up once. Security footage shows her strolling forward, completely oblivious, until she simply disappears into the water. Luckily, she was rescued. 49. A man wanted to get a closer look at a medieval cannon on display in a historical fort. He peered down the barrel and, for reasons known only to him, decided to light a match to see better. He ignited a pocket of ancient, unspent gunpowder, which fired a cloud of soot and debris into his face. 50. During a live TV news report about icy road conditions, the camera focused on a car sliding uncontrollably and crashing. The driver got out, completely unharmed, and then, while talking to the reporter, slipped on the same patch of ice and broke his leg. 51. A man decided the most efficient way to clean the inside of his car was with a high-pressure power washer. He blasted the dashboard, the seats, and all the electronics, effectively pressure washing his car's resale value from used directly to scrap metal in under 5 minutes. 52. An IT intern, trying to be helpful, was asked to run a single line of code on a test database. Without double-checking, he ran it on the company's main production server instead, permanently deleting the entire company and all its client data. It was his last day, one way or another. 53. A woman followed an internet recipe for a self-frosting cake, which instructed her to pour a can of frosting directly into the cake batter before baking. She ended up with a burnt, caramelized brick of sugar with a weirdly gooey center. The internet is not always your friend. 54. A driver in a national park saw a massive bear by the side of the road and thought it was a perfect opportunity to get a close-up video. He rolled down his window and started talking to it like a dog. The bear responded by ripping his car door clean off its hinges. 55. An American tourist in an Australian wildlife park decided it would be hilarious to get into a boxing match with a large kangaroo. He put up his fists and approached the animal, which promptly responded by kicking him square in the chest, sending him flying backwards. 56. Trying to save money on a manicure, a woman decided to apply her own acrylic nails using superglue. She succeeded, but when it was time to take them off, she discovered that superglue does not, in fact, just peel off. It took a trip to the emergency room to get them removed. 57. A man legally changed his name to Bacon Double Cheeseburger to win a contest. He won, but later admitted the daily hassle of having to explain his name at the bank, the DMV, and on first dates was probably not worth the free lifetime supply of pizza he won. 58. A man found a lottery ticket on the ground that looked like $1 million winner. Without verifying it, he marched into his boss's office, quit his job in the most dramatic way possible, and then discovered the ticket was a promotional fake. His boss was not hiring him back. 59. A man attempting some DIY electrical work accidentally connected a new light switch not to the light fixture, but to the main power line for his entire neighborhood. For the rest of the day, every time he flipped the switch for his bathroom, he plunged 3 city blocks into darkness. 60. During a very promising job interview, the candidate's phone rang. He answered it, and right in front of the hiring manager, proceeded to accept a different job offer from a rival company. He then hung up and asked, "So, where were we?" He did not get the job. 61. A marathon runner, just feet from the finish line and miles ahead of the competition, began celebrating. He slowed down to wave at the crowd, only to be overtaken by another runner who sprinted past him in the final second. He went from first place to internet meme instantly. 62. Convinced she was a master of multitasking, a woman tried to curl her eyelashes while driving. She hit a small pothole, which caused her to flinch and accidentally rip out her entire row of upper eyelashes. The pain was secondary to the shock of her instant, horrifying new look. 63. A man spilled gasoline on his garage floor. To clean it up, he grabbed his shop vac. He didn't consider that a powerful vacuum motor creates sparks, and gasoline fumes are highly flammable. The resulting explosion sent him to the hospital and the garage door across the street. 64. An influencer, desperate for the perfect photo, climbed onto a 200-year-old statue in Italy for a pose. The delicate plasterwork was not designed to hold a person's weight. She broke off the statue's toes, causing irreparable damage, and then posted the photo anyway. 65. A man walked past a construction site and saw a freshly poured patch of wet cement. Instead of walking around it, he confidently decided he could walk across it so quickly that he wouldn't sink. He made it 3 steps before becoming a human statue stuck up to his knees. 66. A man tried to argue his way out of a speeding ticket by claiming he was a sovereign citizen and that the laws of the United States did not apply to him. He then presented the judge with a homemade passport and paid his fine in a currency he had invented himself. 67. A woman visiting Japan for the first time saw a bowl of what she thought was delicious green guacamole at a sushi restaurant. It was wasabi. She took a massive spoonful, and her reaction was described by witnesses as something between a volcanic eruption and a jet engine test. 68. An office worker was asked to make a copy of a document. Instead of using the copy machine 2 feet away, she laid the paper on her computer monitor, went to the Edit menu, and spent 5 minutes clicking Copy and Paste, getting increasingly angry that nothing was happening. 69. A man bought a pair of expensive, waterproof socks and thought he had discovered a life hack. He believed he could now walk through streams and deep puddles while keeping his feet dry. He didn't consider that water can still come in from the giant hole at the top where his leg goes in. 70. The master of all gender reveals, a man in Arizona built a device to shoot a colored cloud of smoke to announce his baby's gender. The device exploded, igniting a wildfire that burned 47,000 acres and cost over $8 million to extinguish. It was a boy, by the way. 71. A passenger on an airplane got curious about the emergency life vest, so he pulled the cord, inflating it while still inside the pressurized cabin. The instantly massive vest pinned him against his seat, making it impossible to move or even fit through the aisle. Flight attendants were not amused. 72. A man was convinced the best way to get a tan was to cover himself in cooking oil and lie under a high-power tanning lamp. He promptly fell asleep and woke up to the smell of his own skin literally sizzling, having given himself severe, deep-fryer-style burns. 73. A politician, trying to show he was a man of the people, attempted to demonstrate a power tool at a public event. He held the industrial drill backwards and pressed the button, sending the drill bit spinning directly into his own leg. The photo op was cut short. 74. A man tried to prove to his friends that ceiling fans weren't dangerous by attempting to stop a spinning fan with his head. He learned through a concussion and several stitches that a series of rotating metal blades does, in fact, hurt quite a lot when it hits your skull. 75. A driver's windshield was dirty, and he was out of washer fluid. His solution? He pulled over, grabbed a can of soda from his cup holder, and poured the entire sticky, sugary liquid all over his windshield. The wipers just smeared it into an opaque, ant-attracting mess. 76. A man got a massive tattoo of the Zune logo on his back to show his loyalty to Microsoft's new music player. The Zune was discontinued shortly after, becoming one of the biggest tech flops in history, leaving him with a permanent tribute to a dead product. 77. A woman in a hair salon was getting her hair bleached. Feeling bored, she decided to put on a metal shower cap she'd brought from home, thinking it would speed up the process. The metal reacted with the bleach, superheating it and causing chemical burns to her scalp and melting parts of her hair off. 78. A man who had just bought a brand new convertible was ecstatic about his purchase. He was so excited, he forgot that convertibles have soft fabric roofs. He drove it through an automatic car wash, which promptly tore the roof to shreds and flooded the leather interior. 79. A woman called 911 because she was stuck in a corn maze for 2 hours. The dispatcher asked if she could see the sky to determine her location. She replied, "No, all I can see is corn." The police eventually found her just 10 feet from the exit. 80. A man attempted to make toast by laying 2 slices of bread directly on the heating coils of his electric stove. He not only failed to make toast, but succeeded in starting a fire, filling his apartment with black smoke and proving that a $10 toaster is a worthy investment. 81. A tourist in Scotland, upon hearing the legend of the Loch Ness Monster, became convinced he would be the one to catch it. He spent his entire vacation sitting by the lake, dangling a single hot dog on a fishing line, genuinely expecting to reel in a prehistoric beast. 82. During a live TV cooking segment, a chef proudly demonstrated how to flambe a dessert. He used far too much alcohol, creating a massive fireball that shot upwards and set off the studio's entire fire sprinkler system, ruining the set and soaking the audience. 83. A man was so angry about getting a parking ticket that he decided to pay the fine entirely in pennies. He triumphantly dumped thousands of coins on the clerk's desk, not realizing he had miscounted and was still 27 cents short. They refused to accept it until he paid in full. 84. A man decided to test if his new hunting jacket was truly bulletproof. Instead of using a dummy, he asked his wife to shoot him with a .22 caliber rifle while he was wearing it. The jacket was not, in fact, bulletproof. Both he and his wife were arrested after he was treated at the hospital. 85. A city council decided to install a series of beautiful modern metal benches in a public park. They installed them in Phoenix, Arizona. In the summer, the benches became so hot they were literally capable of causing second-degree burns, making them completely unusable for half the year. 86. A man wanted to create a homemade hot tub. He lined a large hole in his backyard with a plastic tarp, filled it with water, and then tried to heat it by dropping in a live electrical wire from his house. The result was a massive power surge that knocked out electricity to his entire block. 87. A woman bought a new smart refrigerator with a built-in tablet. She spent 3 hours on the phone with tech support, screaming that the internet was broken, before the technician finally realized she had never taken off the protective plastic film with the fake app icons on it. 88. An art student was tasked with creating a sculpture that represented nothing. After weeks of work, he presented his final piece, an empty pedestal. He was genuinely shocked and offended when he received a failing grade for, quite literally, doing nothing. 89. A man wanted to cool down his laptop, which was overheating. He decided the quickest method would be to place it in his freezer for 10 minutes. The rapid condensation from the temperature change short-circuited the entire motherboard, permanently killing the device. 90. A driver got his pickup truck stuck in deep mud. His friend offered to pull him out with his own truck. They attached a chain, and the friend floored it. He forgot, however, that the chain was attached to his friend's rear bumper, which he promptly ripped clean off the truck. 91. A man in Australia wanted to mail a single stamp to a friend. Instead of putting it in an envelope, he stuck the stamp directly onto a brick and dropped it in the mailbox. He was genuinely confused when he was later billed over $80 for shipping a 5-pound package. 92. A man wanted to test the unbreakable glass on his new truck. He confidently threw a bowling ball at the driver's side window. The glass, which was not designed to stop a 16-pound projectile, shattered instantly, sending shards all over his pristine new interior. 93. A woman was convinced that her pet turtle was unhappy. After reading an article about animal freedom, she decided to release it back into the wild. She drove to the nearest beach and set her land-based Russian tortoise free into the ocean. It could not swim. 94. A man wanted to cook a potato in record time. He theorized that putting it in the microwave for an extremely long time on the highest setting would work. He set the timer for 20 minutes and left the room. The potato eventually exploded with the force of a grenade, shattering the microwave door. 95. A woman was so proud of her new driver's license photo that she posted a picture of it on social media. She didn't bother to blur out any information. A scammer used the details to steal her identity, open multiple credit cards, and ruin her credit score in less than 24 hours. 96. An employee was accidentally included on a company-wide email list with 40,000 other people. To be removed, he hit Reply All and wrote, "Please remove me from this list." This triggered a chain reaction of thousands of other people also hitting Reply All, crashing the company's servers for an entire day. 97. A man thought he'd found the ultimate life hack for free vending machine snacks, pouring water into the dollar bill slot to short-circuit it. Instead of getting a free bag of chips, he electrocuted himself, caused a power surge, and broke a $3,000 machine. 98. A teenager filming a cool video for social media decided to skateboard down one of the steepest, most famous streets in San Francisco. He had a great start, but quickly realized he had absolutely no idea how to stop. His ride ended when he collided with a parked car. 99. A man dropped his new smartphone in water. In a panic, he remembered that heat helps things dry. So he put his $1,000 phone in the oven and baked it at 200 degrees for 10 minutes. He successfully removed all the water, along with any hope of the phone ever working again. 100. A tourist in Iceland ignored numerous warning signs and decided to pose for a photo on a small iceberg that had washed up on the shore of a black sand beach. A rogue wave came in, dislodged the iceberg, and sent him floating out into the freezing North Atlantic Ocean. He had to be rescued by the Coast Guard. 101. A man decided that paying for a car wash was for suckers. He waited for a heavy rainstorm, then drove his filthy car onto the highway, got it up to 70 miles per hour, and stuck a bar of soap out the window, hoping the wind and rain would do the work for him. It did not. 101 arguments against the theory of intelligent design. Now for the real debate. What is the single biggest factory for modern stupidity? Is it the desperate thirst for internet fame? A total failure of the education system? Or are some people just born without the common sense gene? Let the war begin in the comments. If you feel slightly smarter now, that's worth a like. And subscribe, because this list writes itself.